back.
Thanks.
Do you feel refreshed?
Yeah, it's nice. It was a nice finish to last week. It was certainly different to be watching the guys, but really happy with how they did at the back end of the week, and yeah, a lot of excitement coming into this week. We're going to have a lot of new Test cricketers tomorrow, so that's pretty exciting in itself.
There's obviously going to be a lot more testing things still out there or still going.
Yeah, it's certainly very hot out there. It's a new ground for us as a team, but it's kind of strange because in 20 over cricket and 50 over cricket, you're always sort of aiming towards something, whether that's a qualifiers or a World Cup. But to actually just kind of play these Test matches sort of on their own and isolated brings its own challenges, but also an opportunity to just go out and play and hopefully play good cricket and see where we are at the end of the week.
What do you think the greatest challenge will be over the next few days?
I think just the longevity of it all. A lot of our guys don't have a huge amount of first-class experience. A 5-day Test match is very different. Our guys have been brought up, a lot of them have been brought up in white ball cricket, T20 cricket. So that's sort of, as a batter, kind of setting yourself up to bat for as long as possible, and bowlers to be as disciplined as possible. That's going to be the biggest challenge, I think. Obviously conditions will play a part in terms of the heat, but these guys need to learn on the job. That's the difficult part, I think.
When was your last red ball game?
Glamorgan. I had 3 games with Glamorgan, so that would have been 2021, sort of April time.
Many debuts we're going to have tomorrow?
I have, yeah. We're going to have a few. I know the 11, but I don't want to reveal too much. I don't think there's any point. No, not yet.
The moment you waited for long, the Test match. So how is the environment and atmosphere of the team?
Yeah, it's an exciting group. We obviously had a good end of the week last week, so that was great. But certainly, I'm not sure there's going to be many times in recent history that there's going to be, a lot of Test debuts. That only happens to the new nations. Would have happened to Bangladesh in the early 2000s. So it's exciting. I think we're going to have a bit of a get together tonight and do some presentations, because I think if we do it in the morning, it'll take too long. We're very excited. It's certainly getting the whites back on and dusting off the white pads, and we know how good Bangladesh are at Test cricket, particularly here. So it'll be a big challenge, but exciting as well.
4 years is a long time. So does it feel like a debut altogether again?
Yeah, it sort of does. A lot has happened. We've been through a pandemic. There's been so much change. Players have gone, players have come in. There's been a whole change. So that was 2019, and that was a memorable occasion for a lot of Irish cricket people, not just the players. And this is memorable as well because you're coming to a big cricketing nation and playing against the top team, and a lot of good Test teams have come here and come unstuck. So the message has just been to go out and play and not hold too many fears. And like I said, a one-off Test match against a team, there's not a whole lot to lose. So we just want to go out and enjoy it.
You'll be captaining for the first time in the Test match cricket, so how does it feel?
Yeah, it's nice. Certainly, I was very fortunate to play under William Porterfield for a long time, and I know how much it meant to him to captain the Test team. It's certainly different for me. I don't think I've captained in first-class cricket, so that brings its own challenges as well. But it's exciting. It'll be very different, and there'll be times out there when I'm going to have to think on my feet and look for help when I'm out there from some of the other players. But that's part of the challenge of being a Test cricketer.
What's the structure back home as far as the variable cricket is concerned? How many first matches you get to play in the season?
None. We're currently not playing any red ball cricket. Since COVID happened, there was a change in approach. We focused all on white ball cricket, and that was fair enough because we didn't have any Test cricket in the pipeline. Certainly now with Test cricket becoming more available to us, I think it's certainly something we have to look to change. I think you learn the fundamentals of cricket in first-class cricket. We have players who have been brought up on T20 cricket and white ball cricket, and that's fine. But if we're going to play 4 or 5 Test matches a year, hopefully, we need to have that first-class structure so our players can get used to playing for a long period of time.
Andrew, guys play a lot of white ball cricket, obviously. So is there a thinking of maybe because you get so few test matches, is there a thinking of transferring that mentality or that brand of cricket into test cricket? Because England is obviously done it quite successfully, but they do it over a long period of time. But is there a thinking behind that?
I think it's hard to think of a brand of cricket when you don't play the test cricket. We've got to go out and just kind of play it as we see it. You don't want to get too complicated. It's kind of ball versus bat. And once we kind of play a few test matches, by the end of, we play 2 test matches in Sri Lanka after this, and by the end of that test match we can maybe sit down and say, well, this is where we're good, this is where we're not so good, let's focus on some strengths and all this sort of stuff. So it's difficult when you don't play a lot of test cricket to find a brand to play. So we don't want to get our guys too complicated. We just want to go out and play it as we see it. Naturally, the top teams are going to play more test cricket, so they're going to have a way of playing, and we just got to kind of adapt as quick as we can and try to counter their strengths as best we can.
For a team like Ireland that is outside the World Test Championship, what is the sort of sustainable number of tests that you want to play per year? Is there a number in your mind?
There's not a number in my mind. I think, going back to my previous question, we need to make sure that there's a first-class structure in place back home before we demand 10 or 15 tests a year, because we need our guys playing regular red ball cricket. The kind of generation before me, or when I started playing cricket, we were lucky that we were able to go over and play county cricket, so that's where we learnt our trade, and that now is not available, and with no red ball cricket at home it is difficult. So I think once we get that in place, then we can look at maybe playing a lot more test matches, but it's certainly unique. I think we potentially have someone who's going to play tomorrow and it'll be their first class debut, and I can't think of a cricketer who's done that before. We just got to see how we go.
There are a lot of young players, but Starlo is going to be missing this test match. He played the last test match. You guys have shown him his runs.
Yeah, I think if he goes out of any Irish team, he leaves a big hole. He's certainly one of our best players. Probably one of the best batters Ireland's ever produced, in my opinion. So we're going to miss him. We're going to miss his kind of cricket brain. He's always someone who's there beside me that I can kind of talk to about the game. He's a smart cricketer, but I think he's not here this week, so we've got to plan without him, and that's fine. But yeah, certainly he'll be a big miss.
You also have someone with a bit of test experience in PJ Moore. What does he bring to you?
Yeah, well, like you said, he brings experience. He's played 8 test matches. That's more than double any of our. I've only played 3. And he's played a number of first-class matches, so I think he played Test cricket here as well with Zimbabwe, so he has knowledge of the ground as well. He's really good with the younger guys. He kind of talks to them a lot, and he's going to be crucial to the next kind of 2 or 3 weeks for us, I think.
You had a long look at them. How did it
Yeah, it looks pretty good. I think I'm not too sure whether they're going to give it another cut today, but yeah, look, we've done the homework on the ground itself, but at the same time, a lot of it is just when we get out there, we've got to adapt pretty quickly, whether we bat or bowl first. It'll be interesting to see how it plays, but yeah, I don't get too carried away with the surface. I think we just have to focus on our kind of selves and deal with it when we get out there.
You have had a tough tour here in Bangladesh, and moreover, Bangladesh is a very experienced test side. So, how do you rate Bangladesh as an opponent, and what will be your target from this test match?
Well, certainly we rate them as a very high opponent. They've showed that they're a very, very organised team in both formats in the white ball. Test cricket, they have a great record here. So we don't have a set. I'm not going to come out here and say we're setting out to win the game. We want to compete for as long as we can. Naturally, you want to be part of an Irish team that wins a first test match, but we know how difficult that's going to be. You have to play well for long periods of time. So that's kind of a big challenge for us, is to stay in the game for as long as possible. And when we do get that chance, whether with the bat or ball, we can capitalise and make it count. But yeah, we realise we're going to have to be pretty good for a long period of time out here.
And Bangladesh obviously announced their full strength side in all the stars. So does it inspire you more to show you mettle?
Yeah, I think this will be the 4th country we've played in Test cricket. England was tough. Pakistan in our first Test match and Afghanistan away. So it's always nice to play a new nation in Test cricket. It's, you know, it'll be in the history books. But yeah, we know how good a team they are. They've got some really good players. They brought in some Test specialists, and we've had a good look at a couple of their seamers who are in their squad as well, and their spinners. So we'll know what to expect in terms of kind of looking at the bowler, if you like. But yeah, Test cricket is a different challenge, and yeah, I think just the overwhelming thing is excitement. You want to play the best teams all the time, and I think in Bangladesh they've got a really good Test team.
Andrew, Afghanistan earlier beat Bangladesh in their second test, you will play in your fourth test. Bangladeshi players might not know a lot about you guys. Do you think this can work as a surprise factor in your favor?
I hope so. I think Afghanistan obviously have a lot of spinners to choose from, so naturally in these conditions they're a force to be reckoned with. We saw that firsthand when we played them in Derridon, I think it was in 2019. So I don't think Bangladesh are the sort of team to take anyone lightly. From what I've seen, a number of their squad and their Test squad would have had a good look at us in the one-day squad. So there's probably a lot of info there. There's probably not a whole lot of red ball info in our squad, so that might be a bit of a surprise factor. But yeah, I'm sure they'll do their homework. They're professional and experienced enough. Cheers, guys. Thank you.